Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heave is good. Memphis on top. 7 tenths remaining. Conley now a three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me. Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies make a trade edition. My name is Keith Parrish. It is the morning of the NBA draft, which frankly is a terrible time to do a podcast because there will be probably league shifting trades all day. And then, of course, we go into draft night and who knows what's going to happen. So we'll have even more clarity on perhaps the Grizzlies' vision of the future in about, 15 hours. But had to make a new episode because the Grizzlies acquired Marcus Smart. On Wednesday night, about 11 p.m. Central, the Grizzlies agreed to trade Tyus Jones away. Tyus Jones is going to end up in Washington for the time being. And it was part of a three-way deal. Kristaps Porzingis goes to the Celtics, and the Grizzlies get Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart fills a lot of needs for the Grizzlies. Let me just say this. Marcus Smart is exactly what the Grizzlies need. So feel free to turn off the podcast at this point if that's all you wanted to hear. We did it. I specifically said in a previous episode, my dreams for draft night, or the day before the draft, I said I don't want any more late first-round prospects, rookies we're taking a flyer on. I want a 30-year-old who can play NBA basketball. Well, Marcus Smart's 29, but that'll fit the bill. Marcus Smart steps in, becomes a better backup point guard than Tyus Jones. He fills the defensive wing stopper role we need. Yes, he can start. Yes, he can guard small forwards. He provides heart and soul to this team. He was the heart and soul of the Celtics squad. He was a leader. This team needed a leader. Marcus Smart has that dog in him. We need guys who have that dog in them, who have a motor. Now, there's a lot of other angles. The cost, Marcus Smart's age, his salary. And I'll get into all that. But I think the short summary is the Grizzlies took care of some important team needs, and they did it by bringing in a guy who should help them immediately. He will help them greatly while John Morant is sidelined with his suspension. And he's also going to help them in the playoffs. He's going to help them when John Morant comes back. Now, my immediate reaction to the news was kind of all over the place. And I think a lot of us probably felt the same way. It was a whirlwind of emotions, and a lot of that is because of the nature of how we get breaking NBA information. We only get tiny bits at a time. So my first thought, and maybe your situation was similar, my first thought when the Grizzlies are announced as part of this Kristaps Porzingis deal, I was like, oh, we're swooping in to save the deal for the Celtics. What are we getting? So I got excited. And I was thinking this could be anything. We could be getting Malcolm Brogdon. We could be getting the garbage contract platter that went to the Wizards, ultimately. I was like, oh, are we getting Gallinari, Muscala, and picks? So I was like, wait, are we trading Tyus Jones for picks? Again, this was my initial thought. And I was like, well, maybe it's future picks. And I was still on board. I was like, I was on board with trading Tyus Jones. It made sense. Expiring deal. Good matching salary. I predicted on this show he's a good chance he gets traded the week of the draft, and here we are. He got traded. So there's that moment where I'm like, oh, we're saving the deal for the Celtics. What do we get? And then it came out, we weren't just getting matching salary. No. We were getting Marcus Smart, and I was elated. My initial reaction was pure elation. I'm like, this is great. We helped out this Porzingis deal, and in exchange, we get Marcus Smart for Tyus Jones. Then it came out that we were sending away not just this year's first-round pick or tonight's first-round pick. We're sending out the long-cherished Warriors 2024 first-round pick. And so then when that news came out, it was like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel. And so I think because of the order of information that was received, my initial reactions, and maybe a lot of our initial reactions, were kind of like, oh, well, let me think about this now. And there's also some aspect of once it comes out that, hey, we sent away these 2 first-round picks, and like, why did Washington not get some of the first-round picks? That's another story, I guess. That's not our problem. We sent out 2 first-round picks in Tyus Jones, and we got Marcus Smart. Now, calling them 2 first-round picks is a little disingenuous. Like, they're not the grand, nebulous future, it could be anything, a future first-round pick. No, it was today's pick. It was the 25th pick. It had to be used today for something. It's going to be the rights to so-and-so, who might not become a good NBA player. But still, we have dreams and hopes for what these picks could be. A lot of people we've been studying up on our draft coverage. We're like, well, what can we get in the draft for this pick? And then, of course, the Warriors pick was always, what if Draymond leaves? What if they have another catastrophic injury? What if it ends up like 10th or 12th or late lottery or mid-first round? And we've always thought this is our good, future trade asset also. And so I also think part of fan reaction and my reaction to the news of the Marcus Smart trade is the realization that we're not getting a bigger name, or we're not making a bigger move. We're not getting OG Anunoby. I mean, I think if I had to, I could make the argument Marcus Smart's a better roster fit. I know we need that small forward spot filled, but this team needed, I think, the playmaking maybe as much as anything. And Marcus Smart is a great playmaker, an excellent passer. But part of, I think, maybe if there was any initial disappointment from Grizzlies fans and myself, I think initially when I found out there was picks involved, I'm like, oh, so we're not making a big deal for one of these dream targets. This is the move. And I also think when you look at it in the prism of like the past couple off seasons and the way we'd been tracking all the things we could do. Like if you think about what you thought as a Grizzlies fan 2 years ago, where you're like, whoa, we have every good player's under 24. We have, Jaws 21, Jaren's 21. We got Desmond Bane, 22. We got D'Anthony Melton, 23. We got Brandon Clark, 23. Like everyone was young, and then it was also, we have all these first-round picks we can use too. The future is wide open. It could be anything. Like literally 2 years ago, and this is, I think, this provides perspective for why, again, I think initial reaction is a little bit disappointing. Like 2 years ago, you could say we have we're expected 6 first-round picks in the next 3 seasons. That's where we were at. We were +3 on first-round picks in the summer of 2021. We had our own picks in 2022, 2023, 2024. We also had a Utah pick in 2022. We had a Lakers pick in 2022, and then we had the Warriors pick in 2024. Well, what do we get for those 6 future first-round picks over the next 3 seasons? Well, 5 of those picks are gone. The only pick that's left is next year's Grizzlies pick. 5 of those picks are gone. Now, the Lakers pick evaporated. We got nothing. Or I guess we got like a second-round pick. The Lakers pick evaporated. It was top 10 protected. LeBron and AD were terrible. The Lakers stunk, missed the playoffs. That pick went to the Pelicans. They drafted Dyson Daniels. So, all right, one of those 6 picks evaporated. We used our 2022 pick and the Jazz 2022 pick. We packaged those together, traded them for the rights to Jake LaRavia. And now we used our 2023 pick and the Warriors 2024 pick plus Tyus Jones to bring in Marcus Smart. So I think it's fair to look at it from a grand view. Maybe this is unfair. It's water under the bridge. What's the point of rehashing it? I'm just doing it for my emotional state and the lack of maybe overall immediate enthusiasm. Again, going back to the top of the show, Marcus Smart is exactly what the Grizzlies need. Now back to my wallowing in the past. The idea that, all right, 2022 first, 2022 Jazz first, our 2023 first, the Warriors 2024 first, plus Tyus Jones becomes Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia, it's not that exciting. I mean, maybe LaRavia develops into an awesome player. But when you look back to past optimism of we could trade for anything, we have so many picks and we have so many good players. And then also when you weave in maybe my favorite player, where you're like, all right, last summer, 1 year ago, basically today, we traded away DeAnthony Melton for David Roddy. And now this summer, we trade 2 first-round picks and Tyus Jones for Marcus Smart. So we turned Melton, Tyus Jones, 2 first-round picks into Roddy and Smart. That's feels like spinning our wheels a little bit. I anticipated more. But once you get over, I guess, all that, I'm excited about Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's a better player than DeAnthony Melton. Marcus Smart's a way better player than Tyus Jones. And the Grizzlies got somebody I think they can depend on in the playoffs. They got someone who knows his role, and they got a leader. I think this team desperately needs a leader. Now, I pointed out on Twitter how Marcus Smart's shooting percentages are virtually identical with Dylan Brooks's, which is true, and I'm sorry, that's funny. You could say, but the playoffs, look at the playoffs. The playoff stats, virtually identical. Maybe Marcus is more consistent. Dylan Brooks' last 2 seasons, atrocious offensively in the playoffs. But the key factor is Marcus Smart knows his role, and Marcus Smart's a playmaker. Marcus Smart passes. Marcus Smart started at point guard for this awesome Celtics squad the past 2 seasons. And by knowing his role, Marcus Smart shoots less. He does not shoot as much as Dylan Brooks. Is it a fun novelty that Dylan Brooks has a higher field goal percentage than Marcus Smart over the past 3 seasons? Yes, it is. Dylan last 3 seasons, 41.2% on his field goals. Marcus Smart, 41.1% on his field goals. Marcus Smart, 33.2% three-point shooter the last 3 years. Dylan Brooks, 33.0%. Those are fun novelty stats. You'll never take those from me. I think there is some concern about guarding bigger wings, but it's not that big of a concern to me. Marcus Smart, who won the Defensive Player of the Year award last season, or the previous season, however we're counting these seasons. Yes, that means the Grizzlies have the past 2 Defensive Player of the Year award winners. They also have the past 2 NBA Hustle Award winners. Those are both Marcus Smart. By the way, here's a fun stat I hope you'll enjoy as much as me. In the 2021-2022 season, Marcus Smart took more charges than the Grizzlies did. Marcus Smart by himself took more charges than the entire Grizzlies team in the 2021-2022 season. Turning Tyus Jones into Marcus Smart, I love it. Losing the hope of what another trade might have been, okay. That part is not as fun, and that's where it leads, I think, to a little disappointment. Is this the best the Grizzlies could have done? No way to know, but you'd think probably. To get a guy who I think slots into the Grizzlies guard rotation so well, like Ja and Marcus Smart together, yes. Yes, awesome. When Ja Morant is out, I'm gonna be real. The Grizzlies are going to look awesome. Yeah, there's a question mark of who's the 3 still. But a Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart backcourt, or like Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane, and Marcus Smart with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams, that 5-man lineup rules. That's going to be great. That's going to be exciting. Now, there are concerns that Marcus Smart is past his prime. Marcus Smart was not as good last year as he was the previous year. I also have some concerns when the Celtics are willing to trade Marcus Smart. Like I said, he was the heart and soul of that team. I think we could be encouraged that Celtics fans are upset. Some Celtics fans at least are upset. I always say look at the fan base. How do they react? How do they feel? They're not that thrilled. The Celtics sent the 35th pick to the Wizards. So the Celtics moved up 10 spots in this year's draft, picked up the future first, that Warriors first from the Grizzlies, and sent out Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis. They're not sure that's a home run, I don't think. Also, what I like about this deal, a couple of things. One, Marcus Smart makes more money than Tyus Jones does. He's also signed for a longer amount of time than Tyus Jones is. So this is what this Grizzlies front office does. This is what NBA teams are supposed to do. They took, or at least it's what is basically in vogue. You don't want expiring deals. So they turned a contract that was expiring into a contract that goes for 3 more years. They also took Tyus Jones's salary number and increased it with Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart makes more money than Tyus Jones. So if, in fact, you do still have an opportunity to trade for a bigger name or a bigger contract, you now have more matching salary you can use. And I don't think they're still going to make a trade for, Anunoby or anything. But they now have Marcus Smart for the next 3 seasons. He makes about $20 million over that time frame. They could then trade him, and that would work out just fine. I think looking at the roster, another thing I like about it is if they don't use a first-round pick this draft, I mean, they still could. They could still trade up into the late first round. That wouldn't be surprising at all. I think it would signal they're probably not going to sign anybody as a free agent if they trade up into the first round. But there are picks available in the late first round where teams would trade out, or even early second round. So the Grizzlies could be getting a rookie tonight that's going to fill that 15th roster spot. But if they don't, and I kind of have my fingers crossed that they just take guys that they're going to put on 2-way deals, that means they have a roster spot. So with that roster spot, this trade for Marcus Smart means you still can use your MLE. They'll have the full MLE to use. Now, there are future salary concerns. One angle of this deal to consider is with Marcus Smart making a good bit of money the next 3 seasons, once Desmond Bane's extension kicks in the 2024-2025 season, the Grizzlies will almost certainly be in the luxury tax. And Robert Pera has never paid the luxury tax. Now, Robert Pera has said he will pay the luxury tax, but also he's never done it. So if the Grizzlies are active this summer in free agency and use the full MLE, they could have a big luxury tax bill next year. And at that point, that's something the Grizzlies haven't done before. And I am, cynical that they won't do it. I mean, there are players I think that would help the Grizzlies immediately. I do think Marcus Smart can be your starting 3, but still it would be good to have more size. And we can certainly cross our fingers that Zaire Williams bounces back, that Jake LaRavia has a breakout, that David Roddy can do it. Although I think Marcus Smart could probably guard as big of guys as David Roddy can. But there's guys out there that I'd be interested in the Grizzlies signing. I'll do a longer free agent episode, but Bruce Brown, Jalen McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, restricted free agent Matisse Thybulle, Naz Reid, get a big guy. I do think there's guys out there that can help the Grizzlies that I'd be excited if they used their MLE on. But if they don't sign a free agent, to me, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it feels like, all right, we're not going to be a big tax-paying team, even though Robert Pear is one of the richest people on the planet. He's one of the richest NBA owners. I mean, among all NBA owners, it's basically Ballmer and him. So, like, I would be thrilled if the Grizzlies were ready to go deep into the tax. Like, I don't think they're going to worry about being like one of those second apron repeater teams. That's not a concern. You already got a slight discount on Ja Morant. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s deal is a steal. Pay some money to make this team a contender. I mean, they might go a little bit cheap. Honestly, I would not be surprised if they brought in like Jay Crowder or Danny Green. Guys who might be totally washed, but great championship pedigree, great leaders, great locker room guys. Both of them already have a Memphis connection, having been on the roster before. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys comes back. Of course, caveat, if they sign a free agent. Looking at this deal from the Tyus Jones perspective, kind of interesting. Tyus Jones, he finishes 17th in franchise history in games played, 8th in assists. He's 14th in steals, so that means Ja Morant will finally be able to overtake him. If you remember, during the regular season last year, Ja passed him briefly while Tyus Jones was not playing, and then Tyus Jones basically became aware of it and roared past Ja Morant on the all-time franchise leaderboard for steals, but of course now Ja will pass him. Tyus is 12th in made threes in franchise history. In the playoffs, he's 9th in made threes. He's 5th in playoff assists in franchise history, 7th in playoff steals, 9th in total playoff games. It's an interesting move for Tyus Jones. Does it give him a chance to start? That's what was reported. They're going to find him a place to start. Well, the Wizards have a ton of point guards right now. I mean, of course, they have Chris Paul, which probably they're going to move him somewhere or, unload him to a different team, maybe buy him out. But right now they have Chris Paul plus Monte Morris and DeLon Wright. And DeLon Wright and Monte Morris are very similar point guards to Tyus Jones. Like, I don't think their talent level is that much different. I mean, Tyus Jones had a great year last year. Would Monte Morris or DeLon Wright have looked as good playing with the Grizzlies players? I think it's possible. So this is not a clear, all right, you're going to a starting spot, or like the starting spot is being handed to you. Also, the Wizards look like they are very interested in being terrible. So, like, will Tyus Jones stay there and be on a tanking team? Will he be too competent? Will they want to maybe move him somewhere else? I mean, maybe the Wizards are able to flip Tyus Jones into another asset. So that's something to monitor. But obviously, I think all Grizzlies fans are very appreciative of Tyus Jones. Seemed like a great guy, very good basketball player, and we wish him the best. In summary, my overall feeling is turning Tyus Jones into Marcus Smart is great. I love that. Marcus Smart is a much better fit for what this team needs. Locks up a backup point guard for years. Also is a guy who can play alongside Ja Morant. Also replaces not just the Dillon Brooks kind of defensive factor, but the Dillon Brooks wild factor. Also, I think this guy has more heart maybe than a lot of Grizzlies players. And I don't mean that's a slight. And maybe the term heart is wrong. But like, this guy's an on-the-court leader. And that is not the sense I get from the other Grizzlies players. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'm just an outsider. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the huddle. But Marcus Smart is a, guys, let's go, follow me, we're going to do this type of leader. And that's the type of player I feel like the Grizzlies need. So I love that fit to it. And then overall, I do think there's some disappointment when you consider like the what could have beens, but that's on me. Like if the Warriors are good next year and it ends up being like their pick's like the 23rd pick or something, and we traded this year's 25th pick and next year's 23rd pick, and Tyus Jones expiring deal for Marcus Smart. No, it's a home run trade. That's a home run trade. So that aspect of it has me pretty excited. And also, here's something interesting. You probably have already thought about the parallels between Marcus Smart and Tony Allen. Both guys coming from the Celtics. Both guys played at Oklahoma State. Both top-level defenders. Both kind of struggle with their shot at times. But also, this was pointed out to me by Fast Break Breakfast listener Jacob Potter, both players traded to the Grizzlies for their age 29 seasons. That kind of blew my mind a little bit that Tony Allen was 29 when he showed up on the Grizzlies. I thought he was younger than that. So hopefully Marcus Smart can follow in the Grindfather's footsteps and become a Memphis Grizzlies legend. Anyway, that's all for today. I am pretty excited. The Grizzlies got a scrappy, defense first, all heart, grit, grind type of player. That makes me excited. As far as that being our one big trade, okay, maybe I dreamed bigger, but this will improve the Grizzlies, in my opinion. And now what's next is the question, and we'll find out more on draft night on Thursday night. Anyways, thanks you guys for listening. Please subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. Hope you have a great Thursday. Talk to you soon. Go Grizz.